I just finished streaming the Ubisoft financials over on twitch.tv/JorRaptor, and I will link to that stream in the video description for if you want to see it. Quite some interesting new details were shared, as kind of expected, but the most interesting thing is this tweet from Jason Schreier that followed shortly after the call was over. He of course has his sources and reported on many Assassin's Creed games in the past before they were announced, and now he's basically confirming that while a new Splinter Cell game is not being worked on, a new Far Cry game and a new Assassin's Creed game are launching before April 2021. Not a real surprise if you follow this channel, but still, it's basically confirmed at this point. So there's way more to discuss, let's get into it. A like on the video would be really appreciated, and let's go. Ubisoft actually had some pretty good numbers despite the disappointing sales of their new games that they released in 2019, especially Breakpoint of course. And if you are, by the way, still playing that game or want to return, then you will be happy to know that the next update that is scheduled for February will include the first implementation of feedback that was asked back in October 2019. With this update, according to Ubisoft, it will give the player the option to change the way they play, so maybe like remove some of the RPG elements that not a lot of people liked. The most important revenue drivers for Q3 of the fiscal year, so between October and December 2019, were Rainbow Six Siege with 55 million players now, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey that sold really well actually during this fiscal year, 50% more than Origins did during the same time last year, so from April till the end of 2019. And also the daily engagement and the amount of money that they got from microtransactions in Odyssey was up from Origins during that same period. And Ubisoft said that it was partly because of the longer post-launch strategy that they had for Odyssey. It was almost 1 year compared to Origins that ended 5 to 6 months after the release. So yes, we should totally expect a very big and long post-launch for the next Assassin's Creed, and this next Assassin's Creed is currently scheduled, at least from the looks of it, like it's really likely that it's coming out this year. Ubisoft's plan for the upcoming fiscal year, so between April 2020 and March 2021, is to release 5 AAA games alongside smaller titles like Roller Champions, and of course we should expect a new Just Dance at the end of the year as well. So 3 of those AAA games will be in the time period between October 2020 and December 2020, so Q3 of their fiscal year, and the 2 other games will be launched between January 2021 and March 2021. And we know 3 of those big AAA games already: Watch Dogs Legion, Gods and Monsters, and Rainbow Six Quarantine. But only 2 of them will release during the Q3 period. One was actually delayed to Q4, although Ubisoft would not say what game they delayed. But that does mean that we have 1 unannounced game of the 5 in between October 2020 and December 2020, and the other unannounced AAA game is in the early part of 2021. And again, Jason now confirms that those 2 unannounced games are the Viking Assassin's Creed. He once again confirmed that it's the Viking setting, although that was pretty clear at this point. And the other game is a new Far Cry, as we already predicted here on the channel. So while on paper they could have Far Cry in the fall of 2020, so this year, it's way more likely that we see something similar as we saw in 2017 with Assassin's Creed Origins at the end of the year, and then a few months later we saw Far Cry. Far Cry 5 was one of the best launches for a Ubisoft game ever, and that was partly because of the amazing launch month in March without any shooter competition. At the end of the year you have Call of Duty, so it would be smarter to launch a Far Cry game in the early part of the year instead. And an Assassin's Creed game always launches at the end of the year, and with the release of the new consoles, it would be really stupid to not have an Assassin's Creed game ready for a cross-gen release. It really helped Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag sell even more, and it will likely do the same for this new Viking Assassin's Creed. But yeah, Watch Dogs Legion is now in a very weird position, and as I predicted, we indeed got a better idea of where the game will release than before the financial call. And I was scared of this, because Ubisoft did confirm that the game will indeed launch after Cyberpunk 2077. I thought a mid-August release would have been a perfect spot, but no, it will now launch between October 2020 and March 2021. And I really hope that it's the early 2021 title, because launching directly after Cyberpunk and then close to the new Assassin's Creed will be a very tough spot. Jason Schreier on Twitter said that there is still plenty of time for one or more of these 5 games to be delayed, and that's of course right. This is Ubisoft's release schedule right now, but anything could change, because back in October 2019 it already looked different than we have right now. Still though, of those 5 titles, I think the new Assassin's Creed at the end of this year is like the safest bet, because of the next gen systems, and also because every Assassin's Creed game, every big one, launches at the end of the year. They sell incredibly well. We saw that with Odyssey and Origins as well, so I think they will continue that trend. And by the way, for if you are wondering, they confirmed that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is coming after March 2021. They did not really want to say anything else about it. And I will add to that they did not mention Skull and Bones, but that was actually already delayed back in October to after March 2021. And I will actually have a big video on that up really soon, so keep it locked for that. Exciting times, a new Assassin's Creed this year, very likely. Can't wait, but also interesting times, because will all these 5 games succeed in the very crowded launch windows? Again, I'm kind of scared for Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs 2 showed that this franchise is just not a guaranteed hit. Watch Dogs 2 underperformed. So Legion needs room to breathe, and hopefully Ubisoft will give it to that game in early 2021 instead of the end of this year, because also if Legion disappoints, then I don't think we will get a new Watch Dogs, at least anytime soon. We should, by the way, expect new info on Watch Dogs Legion in May, so we still have to wait a little bit for that. I'm, by the way, curious what your prediction will be for the release schedule of these big Ubisoft games that will all release between October 2020 and March 2021. I will have a brief summary of the games that Ubisoft is planning to release and in what time period, so you can kind of see what is possible. And also I will leave a link to my new February giveaway for a 2020 game of your choice on your platform of choice. Click the link to participate, and be sure you are a subscriber of the channel as well before you enter. When we know more about those games, I will of course let you know here on the channel. Again, subscribe for everything on Assassin's Creed, the new Far Cry game. I'm really curious what setting they will choose. Watch Dogs Legion, of course, and the other Ubisoft games. Again, a Skull and Bones video is coming up really soon in the next couple of days. Like this video to support the channel, and totally check out my previous video on the next Assassin's Creed and how it will not be called Ragnarok, but something else. For now though, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.